I'm going to briefly go over the resale provisions, but I would encourage you to take a look at the link that is provided in the video and read over the resale provisions. And then if you have any questions, address that to me or to the City of Galveston Housing Department. Resale provisions, activity types. Resale provisions are outlined in 24 CFR Part 92.254A5I, A, and B shall be required or encouraged in the following cases. Resale provisions shall be required when the home subsidy is provided in the form of a development subsidy in which home funds are divided among each home assisted unit and not provided as a direct subsidy to the home buyer. Resale provisions shall be required when the home subsidy is provided in the form of a direct subsidy to the home buyer and developer, CHDO, Community Land Trust, or other similar entity maintains ownership of the home assisted property to ensure its continued affordability into perpetuity. Resale provisions shall be required when the home subsidy is provided in the form of a direct subsidy to the home buyer and it is determined that the property is located in a highly appreciating market for the purposes of maintaining the unit's affordability throughout the entire period of affordability. Methods. The resale option ensures that the home assisted unit remains affordable over the entire period of affordability. All home assisted units designated as affordable units shall meet the following criteria. The new purchaser must be a low income, meeting the home program definition, and occupy the property as their principal residence. The sales price must be affordable to the new purchaser. In this instance, affordability of the new purchaser is defined as the income-eligible household's maximum mortgage capacity as defined by a mortgage lender using generally accepted underwriting criteria. Under no circumstances may the affordable sales price exceed 95% of the median purchase price for the area. Net proceeds from the sale must provide the original home buyer, now the home seller, a fair return on their investment, including any down payment and capital improvement investment made by the owner since purchase. In general, the City of Galveston shall consider fair return to be the maximum sales price as calculated using the following formula, and that's maximum permitted resale price equals the initial sales price to the owner divided by the initial area median income times resale area median income. Enforcement mechanisms. Resale requirements shall be enforced through deed restrictions, covenants, land use restriction agreement, or other similar mechanism filed with the Galveston County Clerk's Office, and the requirement shall be triggered upon sale or transfer of the home assisted property. Recapture provisions. Activity types. Recapture provisions is outlined in 24 CFR Part 92.254A5 A1 through 7 shall be enforced in cases where home funds are provided as a direct subsidy to the home buyer as down payment and or purchase price assistance. The recapture option allows the City of Galveston to recapture the entire home subsidy subject to net proceeds if the home recipient decides to sell the unit within the period of affordability at whatever price the market will bear. All home assisted unit sales under the recapture option shall meet the following criteria. The home buyer may sell the property to any willing buyer. The sale of the property during the period of affordability triggers repayment of the direct home subsidy subject to net proceeds to the City of Galveston that the buyer received when he or she originally purchased the home. Enforcement mechanisms. Recapture provisions shall be enforced through a mortgage, note, and recapture agreement filed with the Galveston County Clerk's Office, and the requirements within shall be triggered upon sale or transfer of the home-assisted property. Amount of repayment. The City of Galveston requires that when the recapture requirement is triggered by a sale, whether voluntary or involuntary, it will recapture the home investment up to the total net proceeds remaining after the sale, as modified by program-specific choices under 24 CFR Part 92.254 A5II 1 through 4. Net proceeds are the sales price minus the superior loan repayment other than home funds and any closing costs. The specific method of recapture is capped by net proceeds may be one of four choices outlined in 24 CFR Part 92.254 A5II A1 through 4. These options include recapture the entire amount, reduction during the affordability period, shared net proceeds, and owner investment returned first. The staff shall select one of these four options based on the specific project program in consultation with the project program sponsor. Mortgage release. Upon release of the recaptured funds, the City of Galveston will file a release document with the Galveston County Clerk's Office to release the original home-assisted home buyer from the requirements of the mortgage or other similar mechanism. Repayments. Repayments of recaptured funds shall be remitted directly to the City of Galveston to be utilized for home-eligible activities only. Loan subordination. At closing, a second lien promissory note and deed of trust must be signed by the applicant. This lien will be subordinate to the lender's lien on the property. However, the city will not further subordinate the loan unless the mortgage is being refinanced. The city will not subordinate for debt consolidation home equity loans unless the debts being consolidated are for housing expenses without taking cash out and the total amount of the lien is less than the appraised value of the house. The city will not approve refinancing for the purpose of a homeowner receiving any equity cash out from the home, such as would constitute a payoff of the outstanding homebuyer's loan amount. If the city approves a refinance option, the homeowner will be responsible for paying all fees associated with the refinancing of the loan and lien documents up to $200 to cover the administrative cost and filing fees incurred by the city. Choosing a knowledgeable real estate professional. The purchase of a home is one of the largest purchases of your lifetime. It is important that you choose a real estate professional that is right for you. A caring, patient person who is familiar with the home buyer assistance programs is key to a successful, uncomplicated quest of finding the home that accommodates you and your family's immediate needs. This person is one who has a vast knowledge of the various types and sizes of the houses on the market, who is familiar with several types of loan programs and can answer questions first-time homebuyers often have. The state of Texas requires an agent or broker to be licensed and trained in buying and selling property, and also requires continuous updates to their education of real estate laws and practices for the state of Texas. A state licensed real estate agent or broker must represent all HAP buyers. Entering into a contract and contract requirements. All homebuyers will be required to enter into a purchase agreement contract with the seller of a house known as an earnest money contract. This contract is a negotiable agreement between the buyer and seller, committing each party to specific duties with regards to the purchase and sale of property. Once all involved parties, buyer, seller, agent, broker, and lender have agreed upon the contract, the lender will issue a summary of the eligible transaction for the home the buyer has selected. This summary, known as a closing disclosure, will provide the buyer with an estimated total amount of money that they can borrow for the home loan, the estimated amount of the monthly house payment, and the estimated amount of any additional costs associated with the purchase. The closing disclosure must also state a tentative closing date. Contract requirements. The City of Galveston Homebuyer Assistance Program requires that specific conditions and provisions be included as part of the purchase contract. To meet program requirements, each contract must contain the following. Number one, the interest rate must be present and not exceed the prevailing market rate. Number two, the contract must allow for an independent home inspection by a state licensed inspector. Number three, to protect the buyer, the contract must state this contract is subject to the City of Galveston Homebuyer Assistance Program. Number four, for all homes built prior to 1978, the contract must include an addendum relative to lead-based paint. Number five, the contract must be properly endorsed by all parties to the sale with any changes dated and initialed. Number six, the notice to seller of real property, City of Galveston document, must accompany the contract with an original signature from the sellers. This document meets Federal Uniform Relocation Act requirements. This document can be obtained from the City of Galveston's Grants and Housing Department. Number seven, the contract must also include the broker's name, address, and phone number, and the listing agent's name, address, telephone number, and fax number. The application process. To determine program eligibility, the buyers must submit a formal application packet with the items on the pre-approval checklist form. When you have all of the required documents, then you will need to contact the Grants and Housing Department and schedule an appointment to turn in the application packet. After the Grants and Housing Department has determined your program eligibility, you will need to submit the items on the Underwriting Requirements checklist form. Upon meeting the underwriting requirements, you will need to schedule a homebuyer education course. This information must be submitted before a closing is scheduled. The application packet consists of several documents, some provided as forms from this booklet, some from the mortgage lender, and finally some items that the buyers must provide from their personal documents or records. After a complete application packet is submitted, the Grants and Housing Department will thoroughly review the documents and determine if the applicants meet the eligibility criteria. Walk-ins will not be permitted. During the appointment, the application packet will be briefly reviewed to ensure that the entire minimum required documents are present. Come back next week as we conclude the series, City of Galveston Homebuyer Assistance Program. We'll be looking at these final three topics: preparing for closing, review, and definition of gross annual income and net family assets to determine program eligibility. If you have any questions or concerns, reach out to me at 281-796-0153 or contact the City of Galveston Grants and Housing Department. Thank you for your attention.